everyone and welcome to the Colour Cave. My name is Jem and we like to play with art stuff. Today we are going to be looking at the Arteza Expert pencils, and these were wonderfully donated by a very generous Amazon fairy, so thank you very much, person whose name begins with J. If you'd all like to just stop for a moment and give her a round of applause to thank her very much for her generosity. I do have the 48 set as well as the 72 set, so we're going to be able to look and see what colours are missing from the 48 set, and it'll give you a chance to look and see whether it's a well-rounded enough set for you to buy the 48 set. So let's just get to top down view and we can take a look at these highly recommended pencils. Let's get going. Alright, so here we have the 48 set of the Arteza Expert pencils. They are shown as artist quality with rich and vibrant colours. Both sets, you can only buy these in a 48 or a 72 count, and both of the tins have this nice hinged lid, which I really like. It's great for just ease basically, and it means you can prop it up as well, and you could also put like a swatch chart or something in here. So I really like that about this tin, and the tin is quite sturdy. It's not dissimilar to the tin that you would get Prismacolor pencils in, other than it's got these hinges, which the Prismacolors don't. So when you open it up, you get that nice sort of ooh pencil situation. Now I have put these in an order that makes sense to me, which roughly follows the same structure as the way Faber-Castell polychromos come in the tin. So you've got your basic spectrum, and then it goes into flesh tones and earth tones, and then into your greys and blacks and whites just at the end. Mine did come all mixed up. They weren't even in the order that it shows you on the back of the tin, which I'll show you in a minute. The next thing to note about these is they do come in these plastic trays, and the plastic trays are really flimsy, and I find them very difficult to lift out. They do have these sort of pinch holes here. When my nails were longer, I actually couldn't lift them out at all, and when I did try, I ended up spilling my pencils everywhere. So they can be a bit awkward, particularly the bottom layer, because you're that bit further down into the tin. So that gets a bit fiddly, and you can see, you know, like I'm not really doing much there, and it's moving about. If I were to use these pencils on a regular basis, I would definitely be putting them in another pencil case, much as I like the tin. So I wanted to show you the 48 set first. I do have the other colours that are missing set to the side here, which I'll show you in a minute, but just purely from the point of view of the pencils themselves and what comes in this set. The first thing to notice about them is that they are all the one colour, and they do have colour names on them, which are listed on the barrel here, and some of them have got quite nice names. There is a code next to it, but that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't correlate to anything, and these little plus signs are the supposed light fast rating. Now I have nothing to back up claims that these are very light fast, or claims to, you know, to counter that at all, but there has been some questionable information that I've found on the internet, but then again, don't believe everything that you read on the internet. It's something that's quite difficult to test. Even if you were to draw something and hang it up on a wall for you know, a couple of months, well, you would have to wait a couple of months from now to see whether or not that is correct, and I may just do that just out of interest. So that's the sort of pencils themselves. I have heard them being compared to Prismacolors in like a cheaper and slightly harder version of Prismacolors, but apparently they are very soft and buttery and easy to blend. So we'll do a bit of testing in a minute. In terms of the colour variety, you can see here that there are a huge amount of yellow tones, and although this pencil looks kind of orange, it's actually like a golden yellow. So you have an immense number of yellow tones for a set of 48 pencils. And the one thing that I do feel about this, and if I just lift this out and show you, you'll be able to see these side by side. They're lacking in sort of paler tones. The colours are very rich and vibrant, but there are very few sort of pastel shades, and the blues especially in this set are lacking. It's not that easy to see on the camera, but the first proper blue pencil is ultramarine, which is here. So you have these two dark blues, and then you have these two sort of mid-tone blues, and that is it. So they're really slacking on the blue pencil front. So if blue is one of the colours you like to use a lot, you're going to struggle with this set. On the other side of the coin, there are a few turquoisey colours here. There's 3 turquoisey colours, and from this point here to here, these are all green pencils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green pencils. So these are obviously, in my eyes, and again this is just my opinion, but they are clearly geared towards colourists. A lot of colourists colour a lot of foliage, a lot of trees, flowers, which, you know, green's going to be one of the colours that tends to go first. I personally use a lot of green anyway because it is my favourite colour, so this actually suits me, but it won't suit everybody. They have quite a nice selection of earth tones for the 48 set as well, and they range in variety, but you've got a couple of light flesh coloured pencils there as well, and you're able to blend these quite nicely with the other earthy tones to get some really nice skin shades. And down at the bottom here we have 2 different shades of grey plus a black and a white. So on the whole, it's, in terms of the colour range for a 48 set, it's not bad, but I just think it's slightly imbalanced in that they could have easily dropped a couple of the yellows and maybe a couple of the greens to give us you know, a few paler shades, particularly in the blue. So let's move on to that now and take a look at some of these colours. So just starting with the blues, it's very obvious from the get-go. And I'm just going to lift the 2 lighter blues out that we have here, and we have a colour called Peacock Blue, and we also have Periwinkle. So these are literally your 2 lightest shades of blue, and the pencils do go down really smooth. I mean, they're really nice and they feel nice. They feel quite high quality pencils, and it's maybe not something you would assume from, you know, from the price of them. So that is really about as good as it gets for the blues, if I'm honest. Taking some of these darker blues, we have an indigo colour, and we also have an ultramarine. So you can see there, in terms of working with them, that's maybe not going to give you something if you're looking for a bit more of a delicate shade. When we look at some of the really bright colours though, there are some absolutely lovely colours. There we've got Peony here. And that is just a really nice rich shade of pink. It doesn't correlate to the barrel at all, and I have found that with quite a lot of the pencils. The barrel colour is significantly different from the actual colour of the pencil. So it's in your interest, if you are going to buy these, to swatch these out. So I just wanted to show you a bit of layering first of all, so that you can see how they layer. And let's just use this Peony colour. So using light layers again, which if I am adult colouring is something that I tend to do. So there's 1, 2. Now obviously this does depend on how toothy your paper is, but it was just to give you a rough idea of what you can expect from them. So there, this is me at 5 layers now, and I feel as if I'm kind of getting to capacity. There's 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's me. That's about as much as I'm gonna get. So that was the, yeah. It's just crumbling off then now. I'm starting to burnish. Yeah, it's starting to get that sort of shine on it now. So I would say 7 layers. Now to me, 7 layers is sufficient for anything. You don't really want to be doing more than that. We'll try with one of the darker colours as well. So I've got the ultramarine again here. When you're actually using them, if you have ever used Prismacolors, that they kind of feel that slightly buttery way under your hand. But I would say that they are a little bit firmer than the Prismacolors. So the upside to that is you've got a little bit more control over where the colour's going, and they will need sharpened less than your Prismacolors. But that, I mean, that the point is going down quite quickly, so I don't know how debatable that is. Okay, this isn't taking much more now. So the kind of the same situation here with these pencils. Yep, that's not taking any more. So they will, here's a point, they came pre-sharpened in the box, and this is what they look like before and here we are after my 7 layers. So they still wear down quite quickly, which is always a factor, because that means obviously you're going to have to sharpen it quite frequently, and also the actual size of the pencil is going to go down as well. Let's try a little bit of blending and see how we get on with that. So let's try with the let's see what we've got here. We'll try with the indigo and the periwinkle. So I'm going for a dark and a light blue, and we can try it up here and just see how well we can get these pencils to go together. That's looking pretty good. I really like the feel of these for a cheaper pencil, and I'm actually not trying to compare these to artist grade pencils at all, because although they say they are artist quality, the price doesn't reflect that at all. So I think it is unfair to lump them in with artist grade pencils like Polychromos or Luminance or anything like that. But you can see there, that's a pretty nice gradient. And that wasn't too much work at all. I didn't have to work hard to do that at all. So in terms of blending, these pencils are absolutely fabulous. They really, really are. So that feels really good too, and I'm really, really impressed with this so far. Honestly, you know, I'm always quite honest about things like this, and I'm not going to tell you lies, but this makes me happy. This is good. This is really good. The other thing I wanted to test as well is the white pencil and just how opaque the colours are for using on dark paper. So I've got my little scrap of black paper here that I keep in the back of my little test book. You can see it's got all sorts of scribbles on it. So first of all, we can test the white and see how that goes. And I have to say, that's pretty good. Now just for a quick comparison, I've got the Koh-i-Noor Progresso white pencil here, and we can just see how it fares next to that. And interestingly, it's doing about the same. And I also have the Prismacolor white here, just for a quick comparison. So you can see that in terms of its opacity, it is not as good as the Prismacolor, but it is matching up to the Koh-i-Noor Progresso, and they're very, very similar actually. Okay, so what about some of the other brighter colours? Let's try a flesh tone and one of the greens here. So I've got matcha, which will forever be known as the Ali pencil from now on. Ali is my best friend's name, and she's obsessed with matcha. So I felt it only right, because the first thing I thought of was her when I saw this pencil, and I actually sent her a picture of it. So that is now the Ali pencil. Okay. Now that's quite impressive. Look how much that's standing out on that paper. And here we've got one of the kind of flesh tones, not faring so well, the paler colours, but still very, very good, I have to say. This is apricot. And yeah, if you wanted to do something a bit more interesting on black paper, you could certainly get away with that. Let's try a yellow. Lemon. Yeah, okay. So you do have a little bit of opacity. They're not incredibly vibrant, but that's not really what they're designed for, in all fairness. Okay, so if we step up to the 72 set, these are the colours that you get in addition to the ones we've just looked at. Another 3 yellows, which I feel they're just not required. Another couple of pinks, which is really nice, especially if you like to draw or colour flowers. A couple of purples and a couple of blues. Now again, I feel that these should have been included in the 48 set, I really do. And Robin Egg Blue is the lightest blue that's there, which I'm going to show you on my swatch chart in just a minute. So that is sorely missed from the 48 set, but that is it. That is all of the blues. So there's no real remedy to the blue situation by getting the larger set of pencils. And more surprisingly than that, even more greens. Even more greens. There are a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more green pencils. So if you're in the market for green like me, then you're just going to love these pencils. But in addition to that as well, we have some more earth tones, which is really nice. We have some more fleshy tones, as well as a couple of the kind of sort of more reddish browns, which are a welcome addition for artists like me who tend to draw things from nature and draw a lot of animals. These colours are imperative for me if I'm going to use a set of coloured pencils. In addition to that, there are 2 extra greys and a sort of charcoaly grey colour as well. So all in all, it rounds out the set really nicely, and I'm going to show you all the swatches together now just so you can see that what that full set looks like. Just roll these out the way. Okay, so there you go. I'll get a little zoom in a bit so you can see a wee bit more closely and get a wee look at things. So you can see there, I mean, straight away it hits you in the face. You have a full row of yellows, and I just feel it's to the detriment of the rest of the pencil set. You only have 2 oranges and a sort of more vermilion colour. So I don't know whether their thinking is that you have all these yellows to blend with your reds, but in a set of 72 pencils, I would expect more than 2 orange colours personally, and definitely not 8 yellows, but hey. They have quite a nice range of pinks, and again, red's okay, it's not great. There's really only 2 reds, say, plus this sort of more vermilion colour. And if we jump down here to the blue section, you can see what I mean very visually about the blue situation. We have this sort of range of darker blues, but there's no real depth to the dark blues. Apart from I would say the indigo and the Mykonos blue, which is one of the ones that you get in the 72 set and not the 48. They're sort of deeper and richer. But when it comes to paler blues, periwinkle, or if you're willing to go into a more turquoisey blue, you have the robin egg blue, and that's it. If we take a little jump over the page here, now bearing in mind we are starting to get into greens down here, we have this huge selection of greens all the way down here, right through to a sort of very grey green. And that's, again, it just seems slightly imbalanced to me. Not for me personally, but I'm just trying to generalise here for all of you. I know everyone's tastes are different, but you can see as well that the earth colours are actually, there's quite a broad selection there, and I'm really happy with that, and it's really nice to see that in a set of pencils, because I can't help but feel that these pencils are geared more towards colourists than they are actual artists. And that's simply because of the vibrancy of the colours. You know, look at this lovely rainbow of colours, and it looks absolutely beautiful. But I just feel that that sort of takes precedence, shall we say. Now again, that is just my opinion. And also the lack of the different shades of grey. Most of the artist sets of pencils have degrees of grey, and that is sorely lacking here. And this selection of greys kind of reminds me of Crayola pencils. And I'm just going to show you them because they're right next door. You know, you have quite a selection of greys in the Crayola pencils, but they aren't in any sort of increments. There, you know, there's very different shades, like the slate and the cool grey next to each other. You know, and it's the same situation over here with the, you know, the elephant grey, smoke, space grey. Some of them are warm tones, some of them aren't. So there's that to contend with as well. And I feel that grey is a very underutilised colour, and it's a colour that I use a lot when I'm drawing, not so much when I'm colouring in one of my colouring books. So that is the range of pencils. Okay, so now for the acid test. Here I have Johanna Basford's World of Flowers, and I've been using this page just as a sort of tester stroke small tutorial page because there's these lovely little sections in it. So I'm just going to take one of these and we're going to see what we can do with the 48 set of pencils. Okay, I've decided to plump for this little image down here because there's some leafy type space as well, and I've got to test out all these greens. So I'm just going to have a little go and see how we get on. So the first pencil I have here is Pear. Now I'm using the 48 set here, and I just want to see how this jives with my colouring technique. They're definitely, straight away, when I always put a light layer of pencil down before I start really working on something, and straight away that I can feel that these are not as soft as Prismacolors. They're not far off it, to be fair, but you can see when I've put that first layer down that it is very, very sort of scratchy looking, and that is just because it isn't as soft as the other pencils. Knowing how many layers I can put down though, this shouldn't be an issue at all. The next test is the sharpening test. They do come pre-sharpened, but they're very flat at the top. I don't know if you can see that, but they're all like this. So I would rather that they just left them completely unsharpened or sharpen them to, you know, a very fine point. This kind of in-between stage doesn't really sit well with me. So I'm going to try, I've got my little Tagal multi-sharpener here, and I'm going to try it on a number 3, which is, you know, kind of in the middle. And we'll see how sharpen, and that sharpens absolutely beautifully, no problems whatsoever. So I've got the moss colour here, and I'm just going to start working in some layers and some blending, and then we'll get some pear on the go again, the pear. And I could use one of my many yellows. Let's see what we can use here for a highlight. The only really cool yellow I have is yellow sapphire, and that doesn't come as part of the 48 set, so I'm going to use ivory instead. Now this is quite interesting, this ivory pencil. If I just hold it up there, you can see how off center that core is. That is considerably off center. You can't see it on the other end because it's painted over, but when you have a pencil that looks really lopsided like this, it's because the core hasn't been put inside the casing straight. So that's going to be a bit of a pain, and we'll just see how the sharpener deals with this and what it comes out like, if at all. Okay, so I've managed to rescue it very slightly, but this is something that happens in the Prismacolors a lot as well, and it's really irritating because you spend a lot of time sharpening your pencil, because on one side of the pencil here you've only got this tiny little bit of point, whereas on the other side so much of the core's exposed. And depending on how soft the pencils are, then that can lead to breakage problems as well, but that remains to be seen. That seems to be okay. There isn't a lot of pencil dust coming off of these either, which is really nice. Because again, that's something with the Prismacolors being a little bit softer, you do tend to have a little sort of crumbliness, but again, you expect that because of the build of the actual and design of the actual pencil cores. I have to say I'm struggling now, and I haven't been pressing hard, but I am struggling to get down any more of this moss colour. And it would be nice to be able to go a considerable bit deeper than that. They do feel very soft underhand as well, which is nice. You know, they're quite comfortable. There's nothing scratchy about them, or, you know, they don't feel like dry pencils. I'm very impressed with these, say for the price point, and that's obviously something that you are going to take into consideration when you buy pencils full stop, because as we know, artist grade pencils can get crazy pricey. If you look at the likes of the Derwent Lightfasts and the Caran d'Ache Luminance, I mean, those are really expensive pencils, so you know, these definitely have a place in the world, I can say that for sure. And they do seem to blend relatively well together, even if they're not, you know, in a gradient like I did on the tester book. Okay, so there we have a simple sort of leaf blend, and that looks pretty good. That looks okay. I'm quite happy with that. So what if we think about working in slightly tighter spaces, like some of these little flowers here, and let's test out some of our pinks. I'm really curious about this peony pink, the one that looks like it's fluorescent, but it isn't actually. We'll have this one, and let's see if we have... let's have lilac. Now again, the lilac colour's quite a pinky colour, and if I zoom in just a little bit further, you'll see what I mean in just a moment. They feel nice to sharpen as well. You know, sometimes with some pencils you feel really uncomfortable sharpening them because it feels like you're hurting them. This does not feel like that, which is nice. Okay, so let's do a little bit of peony. This pink colour feels like it's going down really nicely as well, and it feels a lot nicer than the pear colour, you know, this kind of like green colour we used. They feel okay to work with in tight spaces as well, and it's one of the things I don't like about Prismacolor, and again it's just because of how soft they are, but these feel much better. I feel much more in control of them. So you can see straight away that this lilac and the peony, which are two very different colours, they're just kind of disappearing into one another, which in a large area would be good. So they are blending well, but it's not really having much of an impact here, you know, and it's two colours that I would have thought would have gone quite well together. So let's try and darken down that middle part with a much darker purple. Amethyst, much better. Okay, so I'm going to try and blend that peony into that now. Just go over everything, see if we can get it to blend together. And there we go. That actually looks quite good. So we'll try another one now, but we'll skip out the lilac this time because it really it wasn't up to much, it wasn't doing anything. There is a little bit of an inconsistency in how the colours are going down, but I think that's more due to the type of pigment that's used in making up the actual colour rather than any quality of the pencil. And some of you will notice it if you take orange colours and red colours and then the same with blues, it seems to be that the blues aren't quite as vibrant, and it's just to do with the, as I say, it's like the ingredients that they use to actually make the pigment in the pencils. I'm having to go at it with a couple of layers here. But that peony, this final layer here, just seems to pop out all on its own all of a sudden. That's quite nice, that's quite refreshing, quite surprising. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, let's try some blues, the dreaded blues, not that we've got many to choose from. I just don't have any that go together, which is... Okay, so I'm going to have to go indigo and periwinkle, which was the two colours I used before. So I'm not going to do that again, there's no point in going over all ground. So let's try the turquoise colours instead then. Okay, I have turquoise, which is, to me, it's very like true green in the Prismacolor set. I'm just going to show you over here. It's a really sort of minty green. And we have the ocean blue, which is more of a, what I would say is a turquoise shade, but again, we're semantics here. Okay, so we're going to try those. So let's try it on the border. So I'm going to try it down this side here and just see what we can get it to do. So here is my darker turquoise. So I could have this at the corners and then just fade it out down the side here. So what I'll do is I'll just pop this down at the corners first. I'm getting that same sort of first scratchy layer, which I know now is not a huge issue. It's just, it doesn't feel very pleasant to begin with and you think, oh good grief, what am I doing? I think in the mindset, as long as I tell myself to not compare these to artist grade pencils, then my opinion of them is, well, my opinion of them is very high anyway. It really is. Okay, so here we go. Let's get down to business now. Let's really get these to pop out. Now, one of the reasons that I wanted to review these pencils is because I am going to be putting them into my regular arsenal of pencils for any future colouring videos. And I did think about it because I am not by nature a pencil hoarder, and I don't like having multiple sets of pencils that serve the same purpose, especially if I've found a brand that I really like. Now my pencil collection in terms of normal coloured pencils at the moment stands at the 100 pack of Crayola pencils, which I keep for guests or any children that happen to come my way and want to colour, because I love to encourage everyone to colour. And obviously that pack covers off the lower end of the budget spectrum when it comes to actual pencils and supplies. I have a set of the 150 Prismacolors, and those are my wax-based pencils. And I have the 120 set of the Faber-Castell Polychromos, which are my oil-based set of pencils. In addition to that, I have some Caran d'Ache light fast pencils, which is the Luminance. And the reason that I have those pencils is because of the light fast rating, but I only use those for portraiture and any artwork commissions, because most people will want to hang them on their wall. I do not use them in colouring books because I have two perfectly good sets of artist grade pencils in the Prismacolors and the Polychromos to use for colouring in. But they are very, very expensive. By having the set of Arteza pencils, my idea was that they are quite accessible price-wise and they're a bit higher quality than the Crayolas. So I'm essentially covering that hole in my budget stroke quality range of pencils that I use to do my colouring chats, my chatorials and my tutorials as well, and it just makes it easier as well, because I know quite a lot of you guys have these pencils or have thought about these pencils, and it would just make it easier if I added them into my collection, and if I used them on a semi-regular basis, you guys would be able to follow along, and more of you would be able to follow along with anything that I was colouring. So that was kind of the idea behind it, and I still fully intend to do that because I like these pencils. But what I will say is that make sure you keep your expectations in line with what they cost. I know I've said that a couple of times now, but that's the way you've got to look at it, because to me these are not in the same league as a set of Polychromos pencils, but they are very, very good pencils. Now there you go, we're starting to build up the layers there, and that's coming out quite nice. I would have liked to get this just a bit deeper, and there just seems to be that, it's like the final layer of richness that you would get in a Prismacolor. It's just not there with these pencils, because I can feel that I'm not going to get much more down on the paper from these. And I do have a little area up here that's quite scratchy, which I'll show you in just a second. But as you can see, they have blended in beautifully. And those two colours go really well together, which is really nice as well. So if I just zoom in now, extreme close up. What was that from? Was that Wayne's World? Can you see it here? It's gone really, really scratchy. And I wasn't colouring any different there to where, you know, to anywhere else in the picture. So that's just me showing you what's happening, guys. This is real time. So as you can see anyway though, they are really, really nice pencils. Okay, so on a final opinion, I think that these pencils are highly, highly worth what you are paying for them. Okay, so the price point for these, the 48 set, are coming in just under £20. That's Great British pounds, and the 72 set's around £30. Obviously, these prices will fluctuate slightly depending on what country you're in, but there aren't any great discrepancies that I've seen when I've had a look across the various Amazon sites geographically. So they are a really good buy. They are good quality pencils. They blend well. They layer reasonably well. And if you plump for the 72 set, you have a much better range of colours. And these become very accessible and very affordable. The downside to them is the slight imbalance across the colour spectrum that I talked about. So the thing with the yellows and the blues in particular. I am very happy with the number of greens, but it might be excessive for other people that don't like to colour the same things I colour. Now the question is, are these artist quality pencils? In my eyes, they're not. And I'm going to tell you why. The biggest downside to these pencils, and it is the reason that I would not use these for my artwork and only in colouring books, is because they do not sell them open stock. And as a pencil artist, that, you know, I've just talked about it, you know, I draw a lot of dogs. I go through an awful lot of brown colours and sort of darker grey black colours. If I can't get a pencil open stock, that is a problem. So these, I would not recommend these if you are an artist, especially if you're a very active artist. And quite frankly, I wouldn't trust the Lightfast ratings until they have been proven. Now we know Arteza are a really new brand currently, and you know, it takes time to build up your reputation, and I think they're off to a great start, but I wouldn't be confident drawing a portrait of someone's dog and giving it to them in these coloured pencils and telling them it's absolutely not going to fade. I would rather stick with my tried and tested Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. But the open stock thing is a huge downside for me, and it is the reason that I wouldn't recommend these for artists. If, like me though, you like to do a lot of colouring, these are absolutely perfect pencils, especially if you don't want to spend a lot of money, or even if you want something to complement some of the other pencil sets that you have. They will play really well with Prismacolors, and they've got that same sort of, you know, like vibrant, vivid feel about them, so they're gonna go great with your Prismacolors. So that is my feelings on that. I hope you have all found this review helpful in some way, shape or form. As I say, for the money, you absolutely can't knock these pencils. It's just a really big shame you can't get them open stock. Now, Arteza haven't said that they won't bring out open stock, but currently there's nothing in the pipeline. They said they may do it in the future. Now, that if that's not a very sort of vague sentence, I don't know what is. It's not to say that it won't happen, but for the time being, I'll just stick with them in my colouring book. Okay guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching and coming along and spending some time with me. I do appreciate it. Here's just a quick flick at the colours again. They look so pretty all together there, they're so nice. And as I say, I hope that this has maybe been helpful or at the very least interesting for you. But you can expect to see the 72 set of pencils going into my arsenal for future colouring videos. I hope you all have a nice rest of day for what's left of it, and we shall see you in the cave really soon for another video. Bye for now everyone.